Shalom, shalom, and welcome. Welcome to White Roads family. My name is Symmanayah, and these are the words I am compelled to present before a set-apart nation. Below you see some terms, my brothers and sisters. These are terms to encourage you to ask questions, to inquire, to seek to discern what the Almighty Father has to say to you and to a set-apart awakening nation. Seek with an earnest mind, heart, body, and soul to improve in worship and obedience to the Almighty Father. This is the 35th installment of White Roads family, and before I get started, let me read the disclaimer. Warning and disclaimer: the information contained in White Roads family represent instructions and warnings to individuals who believe they are drawn by the Almighty Creator Yahuah to Yahusha, Mashyach. The content presented centers around end-time realities. Please be advised this site is not intended for children under 16 years of age due to its content. By continuing forward, you agree to hold Symmanayah harmless of any influence in or actions that arise as a result of watching, listening, and reviewing the content presented. The views expressed do not reflect the owners, management, and or shareholders of this media platform. Also note, not affiliated with any other ministries with similar names. With that said, my brothers and sisters, let us begin. In this 35th installment, my brothers and sisters, I want to bring your attention, and you may notice the color green. I will be repeating why I use the specific colors. Again, they are not ordered. It is something that allows me to understand and remember the purposes of the feast times. There is something with each set-apart feast that we can gain, that we can discover to be as a vetting tool. Many people will shun it because they don't want to be vetted. They don't want to be examined. They don't want to be judged. But I say to you, are you not tired of being burnt by deception, misled by unlearned, undisciplined, undiscerning leaders, mores? Are you not tired of stepping into communities where they fail to acknowledge the leaning on the Spirit of the Almighty Father? Are you not tired of the pain, the stumbles, the missteps? My brothers, there's enough in this spiritual battle. But we can alleviate some of the burdens, some of the shackles, some of the weights by vetting, by asking questions. And as I stated, each color that I present represents something of purpose that's connected to our worship and obedience. Case in point, black being Passover, we transition from darkness to light. For in the instructions of the Passover, we discover life, and life immeasurable. With unleavened bread, so we discover life as a newborn babe. We must be able to grow and discern between good and evil, right and wrong. And I use the color blue because it's symbolic of the Almighty Father's word. And then first fruits, I use green. For mostly all fruits and vegetables that ripen, before they begin to ripen, the landscape is green. The characteristics are green in most cases. And then I use brown for harvest. Many people might not realize it, but in the fall brings about a browning. A browning, my brothers and sisters. Again, this is to help me and remember the sequence and some purposes as it can contribute towards vetting. And then I use a more highlighted color, a caramel color. It could be orange. One day it may be yellow, but it's to highlight, it's to proclaim, it's to highlight the Feast of Trumpets, proclaiming deliverance, proclaiming the good news of Yahusha Mashyach, proclaiming that judgment has begun at the house of Yahuah. And then I use the color red for atonement. For it is by the blood of the Lamb we are made renewed, that we are capable of being renewed day by day as we get under the blood of the Lamb, as we yield to correctness, reproof, as we seek forgiveness. We find that the Spirit of Yahusha, through his atoning blood, the blood of the Lamb, brings about his Spirit to regenerate, to rejuvenate, to reinforce and fortify our pursuit of set-apartness. And then I use the color purple to indicate the tabernacle, Purple is a color that is combined. If you take blue and red, you get purple. And I say to you, my brothers and sisters, by the word of the Almighty Father, by the blood of the Lamb, we come to identify this tabernacle. And therefore I use purple to symbolize that. Again, this is not something I am ordered. I cannot say I'm ordered, and I'm not saying you must do this. But I'm saying I believe it can help you understand some purposes of the feast time when it comes to vetting. And I did a series, my brothers and sisters, that basically says if you take these out of sequence and try to become together with someone and fellowship with someone, there will be problems. To ignore these in sequential order, there could bring problems. So let us learn to vet and free ourselves or reduce the weights of stumbling or being burnt by someone or misused or taken advantage of. With that said, green is first fruits. So I say to you, my brothers and sisters, in this segment, working or waiting, timing and patience. Pacing, first fruits. My brothers and sisters, I stated before that first fruits are those who are quick responders. They get things quicker than others. I want you to consider this. If you looked at a fruit tree and the first fruits to ripen are those that were able to endure all that was brought before it, that was good, and even weather the storms that were bad, but they burst through and ripened. I want you to consider that the first fruits, if neglected, my brothers and sisters, if we neglect to pay attention to the first fruits, they ultimately drop to the ground. They rotten. In most cases, the seed then becomes part of the earth and it will produce another plant. Oftentimes, my brothers and sisters, when the first fruit ripens, timing is important to pick that fruit, to eat that fruit, to use that fruit, whether you're juicing or chewing. Pacing, knowing when and how much to gain, how much to gather, and not mess with those that are not ripe yet. Now, with that said, O Yashar'al, working or waiting, the first fruits, when they are picked and consumed, they are working. They're doing what they were designed to do. When they're waiting, they're sitting there ripe, waiting for someone to see, waiting for someone to recognize them, waiting for someone to know their purpose and utilize them. Now, my brothers and sisters, with that said in literal context, consider the spiritual. Consider the quick responders of Yahusha Mashyach. They get things quicker than others. They may have weathered through the fight, the spiritual battle. They pierced through the barriers and obstacles with the power and might given to them by the Spirit of the Almighty Father. They work. So the question is, do we recognize the work of the quick responders, those who are as first fruits? They may be a moray, a pastor, a leader, a bishop. They may be a child or adult. They may be a male or a female. Do we recognize this? Do we recognize this working? Do we recognize that they are waiting to engage us? They're waiting for us to engage them. Do we recognize that timing is of the essence? And just as natural fruit rottens and then go to the seed, one who is a quick responder and oftentimes can become discouraged. If you doubt that, my brothers and sisters, look at one of the prophets of the Almighty Father who went into a cave and thought he was all alone. And it took the Most High to tell him there's more out there. Look at many, my brothers and sisters. Look at the scriptures that say, he that increases in knowledge increases in sorrow. Sometimes as we increase in knowledge, sometimes as one is a quick responder as the first fruit, they will become discouraged. Just as natural fruit will rotten and then drop to the seed, some will become discouraged and not as motivated, not as energized if we do not acknowledge them, recognize them, and yield to them as the Spirit of Yahusha is working in them. Timing and patience. Pacing is of the essence, my brothers and sisters. Pray, O Yashar'al. The things that I speak to you can strengthen you. For as end times come, the elements of wisdom, the elements of life will be paramount as we seek to precisely respond to the Most High with correctness or respond with precision. Let me continue with Yashar'al. My brothers and sisters, do all members perform the same task at the same time, in place? What I have before you is an excerpt from Romans 12th chapter, verse 1 through 5. Let me read it, my brothers and sisters. It say, I call upon you, therefore, brothers, through the compassion of the Almighty One, to present your bodies a living offering. Some versions will say sacrifice, set apart, well-pleasing to the Almighty One, your reasonable worship. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you prove what is that good and well-pleasing and perfect desire of the Almighty One. For I say, through the favor which has been given to me, to everyone who is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he should think, but to think soberly, as the Almighty One has given to each a measure of belief. For as we have many members in one body, but all members do not do the same function, so we, the many, are one body in Messiah, and members each one of another. My brothers and sisters, 24 hours in a day, depending on how you measure time, and the Spirit of the Almighty Father works in us and through us 24/7. While some are asleep, others are awake. While some are awake, others are asleep. My brothers and sisters, this does not stop the first responders, the first fruits. This does not stop what the Most High have for us now and going forward. Consider reading Ephesians 4th chapter and 1 Corinthians 12 as well, my brothers and sisters. For in these last days, we will know when it's time to be working, when it's time to be waiting. The actions of the Almighty Father will go before us, my brothers and sisters. There is much that we must grow to realize. I ask you, my brothers and sisters, do you know the importance of realizing what we should be doing each day? Even when we go to work or care for a young one or a senior or someone disabled, when we interact with one another, let us discern and learn to embrace and know when to yield. In other words, sometimes we must be still and listen to the brother, the sister. Sometimes we must be still and pray. Sometimes we must be still and observe what it is that we see and how should we respond. My brothers and sisters, there are many different tasks, many different positions. We must learn how to pace ourselves, for as we become excited by the Spirit of Yahusha using us, sometimes there are individuals who will overstep their bounds, being overzealous, over anxious. Sometimes we may find ourselves sluggard, being too slow to respond. Sometimes we may find ourselves trying to overtalk one another. Do we know how to get into a wholesome, set-apart conversation and communicate? Are we waiting for someone to finish talking just so we can speak? Or are we listening to what the person is saying? Are we discerning what their spirit is saying? What words are coming out their mouths? What actions? Yielding to one another. Understanding that there are diverse positions and tasks. Yashar'al, let us learn that each and every one of us are important. My brothers and sisters, I say to you, remember, there are living orders going forward every day, believe it or not. Sometimes we become so consistent in our actions that we take the simplest of communications for granted. Everything is not a thee or thou or have to be a quote from scriptures. to be set apart, a smile, an embrace, a correction, a purging, a coming together, sharing practical things that help build strong relationships, spiritual relationships. My brothers and sisters, they are living orders, set apart instructions by the Almighty Father. And we will learn that each of us are tasked with doing specific things, and it will become clear in the coming of days. Whether you are a quick responder or first fruit, or whether you demonstrate that behavior for a moment, each and every one of us will understand the need to identify when we must find ourselves in a position of working or waiting with expectation, timing ourselves, pacing ourselves. Yashar'al, allow me to read the following. Psalms 23:5 says, "You spread before me a table in the face of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over." My brothers and sisters, you see, with each of us having different tasks, sometimes one person gets a conviction to sound alarm to say, "Come out of her, my people." And they urge you to come out and get into community living, either their community or set up community living. There are others who are tasked to be in the midst of such echoing, set-apart words. Remember, even Yahusha Mashyach went out into the byways, healing the sick, giving sight to the blind. Yashar'al, the scripture says he prepared our table in the face of our enemies. You see, there are times some of us will be ordered to be where we are, to echo the sentiments of set-apartness, to demonstrate what a set-apart life is like. So let us not condemn those who are in community, and let those in community not condemn those that have not been drawn out as of yet. To take one scripture and just throw that out and tell everybody, come out of her, come out of her. It's ill-conceived when the scriptures say he prepareth our table in the midst of our enemies. When the scriptures tell us to go, therefore, preaching and teaching the good news of Yahusha Mashiach, balance will come, O Yashar'al. Focus will come. We will learn not to push our convictions on others, but share and live and demonstrate obedience that we have to what the Most High is saying to us. We will come together, fitly joined together in unity as the discipline of the Almighty Father works in us. 2 Corinthians 6:17 says, "Therefore come out from among them and be separate, says Yahuah, and do not touch what is unclean, and I shall receive you." You see, my brothers and sisters, there are those who are making a message and condemning others who haven't yielded to coming out. Again, balance, focus. Know what the Spirit of Yahusha is saying before us, O Yashar'al. There will come the time for that great exodus, that great gathering from the four corners of the earth. There will come a time where the 144,000 and great multitude, consisting of both Hebrews and Gentiles, or Abrahym and Goym, who seek to do the will of the Almighty Father, who have been chosen for his esteem to fulfill being gathered from the four corners of the earth. Let me say this, my brothers and sisters. What if you spend all your energy and time beating up on yourself because you can't establish community or get to a community or be in a community? So therefore you become distracted on what the Most High is telling you to do from where you are. What if you're in a community and you work in the community and you sometimes beat up on yourself saying, "I feel like I should be out there preaching the good news of what is good about Yahusha Mashiach." You see, each of us, again, have our task. And do not find yourselves going by this one verse or two verses and saying, "I must just stay in the community." And the Most High might be leading you to do other things. And even those that are in community sometimes step out. I don't see much talk about when community participants step out into the world, when their children go off to college, or when they go out to shop, buy, or when they go along the highways and byways. I don't see much talk about how do they engage with those that are outside that community. You see, my brothers and sisters, to make things wholesome, we must bring about balance, focus, share our convictions, demonstrate set apartness, and let us seek to discern what the Most High is saying regarding the person in the mirror and those we encounter. In Ecclesiastes 3:1, it says, "For every matter that is, there is an appointed time, every time for every pursuit under the heavens, even a time for every pursuit under the heavens." Yashar'al. There's a time and season for many things. We will come to understand how we will be joined together in unity, my brothers and sisters. We will come to understand the importance of how to respond to one another. You know, O Yashar'al, failure to respond with correctness is unacceptable. In other words, when we ask questions, when we begin to seek, if people are just saying something just off the top of their head, they're just saying something just to be belligerent or to sound good. Well, let me just say this. Most people may not say something to be belligerent, but they will try to be charismatic, really pushing their position of conviction, trying to push it on others. My brothers and sisters, the scriptures tell us that the Almighty Father draws us to Yahusha Mashyach. The scriptures tell us to be led by the Spirit of Yahuah, sent in Yahusha's name. The scriptures tell us to walk filled with the Spirit, to pray without ceasing. It doesn't say go and grab them by the hair or the hand and drag them into community or drag them into fellowship. It doesn't say cast down those that are not in community, that are not in fellowship. There are those who will take the scripture that says, do not forsake the assembling together, and they forget about even Shalum, who went into Arabia for a period of time before he joined the taught ones. Sometimes, my brothers and sisters, we are called to be alone and pray and study, and not be partakers of influences by man or any other, but to discover the voice of the Spirit of Yahuah in Yahusha's name in the stillness of silence. And sometimes we are called to be in assembly. Some might be called to be alone and grow and study and grow strong in the Spirit of the Almighty Father until such time they are directed to assembly or fellowship. Balance, my brothers and sisters. Balance in our communication. Focus. Understand the dynamics. Responding to people in ways that are not correct is unacceptable. End times are here, my brothers and sisters. And they will get intense. Our communication demands times for us to be in positions where we find ourselves working for the better good of a set apart awakening nation. And yes, there will be times to waiting. You see, just like those over in the country of Israel now, there are many who have run over there and flocked over there. Some have become expatriates of the United States and been in there. And some of those individuals went because they went trying to save their own skin, not because they was led. There are many who went over there because they're trying to speed up the process of being gathered from the four corners of the earth. If you were not drawn by the Almighty Father back to the land of Israel, evidence will prove such. Your life will demonstrate that you thought you was getting away from something. You see, destruction is coming, my brothers and sisters. End times will ramp up. Discipline is coming. Vengeance is coming. Wrath is coming, O Yashar'al. Intense times are coming. Let us learn how to ask one another questions. Let us learn to vet one another, to examine one another, to make sure we're talking apples to apples, oranges to oranges, that we're on the same page O Yashar'al. So as we do this work that we are directed to do, we know when to yield, when to move out of brother's way or sister's way, when to help them, when to exhort them. I didn't say exalt, I said exhort them, encourage them, encouraging one another when working or even when waiting. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, what say you with all that is before us? Let me read the following. Consider, my brothers and sisters, there was a time when the Almighty Father went before his people and they experienced victory as they engaged in many battles. But there was a time when Yashar'al became so confident as the children of Yahuah that they thought they can go up and do whatever they want to do when they wanted to do because they thought they can pull Yahuah into their conflicts. But consider this, O Yashar'al, Deuteronomy 1st chapter, verse 42 through 44. And Yahuah said to me, say to them, do not go up nor fight, for I am not in your midst, lest you be smitten before your enemies. So I spoke to you, but you would not listen, and you rebelled against the mouth of Yahuah and acted proudly and went up into the mountain. Then the Amorites who dwelt in the mountain came out against you and chased you as bees do and drove you back to Symmanayah, to Homah. My brothers and sisters, what I just read was an example of Yashar'al being cocky, overconfident, because they were the children of the Almighty Father. And they thought they can just go and do what they please. That's happening now with people trying to establish community. They think that they can just go and just start a community. Many of them, let me tell you something, my brothers and sisters, and I'm not saying this to beat up on people who desire community. There are those who will use the excuse, I don't see anybody else doing it better, so therefore I'm following this person or that person, or I'm going to do it my way. We will learn how to wait on the Almighty Father. For there are many who will exhaust their financial resources, their natural resources, their energy and strength on building communities, assemblies, or even fellowships when the Most High have not directed them. There are those who are jumping out there, and there have been those. I know personally some who have jumped out there and they didn't check with the zoning laws in the prospective states, community, counties. You see, zoning sometimes prohibit that. Remember, the scriptures tell us, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar. So let us not just think we can just go break the laws in captivity and it's okay. Many aren't doing their research. Many aren't engaging those who will understand the steps that are necessary to ensure setting up community. They're jumping out there too soon, some without even a written plan. Are we not aware that the scriptures say, if there's a vision, write it down? Speak it in details, my brothers and sisters. There are those who will use media platforms and block you when you challenge them just to bring about correction in a degree of perfection if they are going to pursue community or fellowship or groups or establish their own camp, so to speak. It's not about bashing, my brothers and sisters. It's about order, doing things in decent and in order. It's about communicating. It's about understanding when someone asks you questions as they want to examine why you're doing or how you're doing what you're doing, that they're trying to determine whether they should be a supporter of what you're doing or not. My brothers and sisters, beware of those who fail to explain details. Beware of those who are defensive and filled with excuses as they stumble along trying to build an assembly, a camp, a fellowship, or a community. Beware, my brothers and sisters. There are the first responders, the quick responders, the first fruits. There are those who understand what it is to be in the ranks of those working in set apart obedience versus those who are perpetrating, looking busy, who have stepped out of the bounds of seeking to discern what the Father is saying to them in Yahusha's name. Pray, O Yashar'al. Do not find yourself spending your oil, using up your oil, and then when you need it, when it's time, you don't have it. Do not find yourselves investing in things that may not be directed by the Almighty Father. Do not find yourself caught up in entertainment. It seems to be a thing now where some of our brothers and sisters want to build documentaries, make movies, and distract us from the things that we must look at, what we should be doing going forward. How much history do you think we need to know we was mistreated or about slavery? Now, there are those who are guided, and they may be indeed led by the Spirit of the Most High to present documentaries on history. And there are those who are wannabes, who want to copycat, some for the sake of making money or making a name for themselves. Oh, Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, end times are here. There's going to be a lot of I woulda, coulda, shoulda. But watch, there will be first responders among us. There will be those drawn by the Almighty Father. There will be those who understand what it is to be drawn of the Almighty Father to Yahusha. Questions and answers help make known the importance of working and waiting. What are we doing? When? Why? Who's in charge? What's the structure? What's the timeline? What's the schedule? What happens once we complete that task? What's next? What is the future vision? And what is the plan when movement comes? Will we be so attached to the community that we built that we can't discern the words of a watchman, the words of a prophet, the words of a brother or sister? Have we become so attached to our current location that we neglect that movement come? My brothers and sisters, there are plans. There are plans for sustaining and sheltering in place, and there are plans in action to watch for the signals that come for movement. Some have received them and have begun to move. Some have moved and some will move. End times will bring forth migrations, my brothers and sisters. Are you part of a plan? Are you leading up a plan that has been given to you by the Almighty Father? Have you identified a plan that builds up the set apart children of Yashar'al? A plan that not only builds them up, but also complements and at some point will connect with other plans as the great plan come together regarding Yashar'al being gathered from the four corners of the earth. What say you, my brothers and sisters? I say to you, White Robes family has been given a plan. And if you've seen any of the recordings with White Robes, you will see many of the last 4 or 5, even more. I highlight bullets that talk about a solid plan. It is not a be-all plan, and it is not the plan greater than any other. But my convictions draw me to seek out those who would participate in building up White Robes family, contributing to a plan that will build up set-apart team, a set-apart team of leaders that have been vetted, that knows how to demonstrate how to treat people as Yahusha would treat us, knowing what it is to have set-apart leadership, balance, knowing the dynamics of nation building as Yashar'al awakens even more, to develop an information and resource center, to build a team with diverse skill sets, teaching the young, teaching the unlearned, demonstrating, educating, to purchase land in Virginia, for I think that is the exit point, O Yashar'al, for the Western Hemisphere before we cross the Atlantic in mass numbers, to identify and support safe zones for migration, to provide guidance and support for completing the journey that is ahead of us. For some, that journey will end in the set-apart area known as the Promised Land. For others, it may be a place on this planet that the Most High will have us shelter in place and speak the last words of set-apartness until such time as we face physical death. The realities of end times are before us, O Yashar'al. Prepare. Is anyone explaining to you how to prepare to face death in the face? Are you receiving instructions on how to identify when you, the person in the mirror, must move, must act, must contribute, must work? Is anyone talking about the inner court? Are you receiving instructions that leads to a point in time where we will be waiting on Yahusha Mashyach's physical return? I say to you, my brothers and sisters, there's a lot of work ahead of us. And with work comes the need for supplies, resources, people with diverse skill sets, finances. My brothers and sisters, if I'm saying anything to you that resembles something that pushes you closer to the Almighty Father Yahuah, in the name of Yahusha, consider subscribing and receiving future messages. Consider sharing this with others. What if these messages have come to you and now you're tasked with the responsibility of passing it on to others? You see, sometimes we think that we're learning and we're growing, and that we just being a member of a fellowship, a camp, a community, an assembly, or a group, and we dismiss that any information that feeds and strengthens us into set apartness puts us in a position of responsibility to also share and demonstrate that with others. And we are held accountable. Sometimes there are individuals that are going through discipline and going through things, and they don't realize it's because they neglect such a great calling. They neglect information that has been given them. They neglect the responsibilities that have been presented before them, and they don't realize that that discipline might come in the form of sickness, physical sickness, weakness, because they're not utilizing the gift, the information that they've received. But you decide, my brothers and sisters. Pray on these matters. I use the words, use it or lose it. Watch. When economies crash, when civil unrest hits, when the mark of the beast hits. And some of you may have heard this over and over who listen to my recordings, but some of you may be listening to this for the first time. Choose wisely what you're going to do with your skills that you have right now, with the resources, with the supplies that you have right now, with the finances you have right now. Build up or contribute and support to the building up of a set apart awakening nation. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, the time is now to identify and ask yourself, will I be among the quick responders? Will I be among the first fruit? Will I be among the harvest? Will I grow to understand what working and waiting means? Will I know how to embrace the importance of timing as it relates to what I do, when I do, and who I do it with? Will I know how to pace myself? Or will I be reckless and run out? You see, pacing is going to become very important, my brothers and sisters, when it comes to utilizing fuel to get from one point to the next as end times ramp up. When it comes to eating food, pacing ourselves, did we get enough food or have we planned out enough food for our journey? Yes, there are those who the scriptures say don't worry about it. But there are those who also informed and warned and instructed on what to take. You see, again, we cannot take a blanket verse and throw that across for everyone. So Yashar'al, timing and pacing our actions is important. Working and waiting. Yes, first fruits will prove to be chosen leaders among us, set apart by the Almighty Spirit of Yahuah. But there will be those who we may least expect it, that will be used by the Almighty Father to echo the words of what is necessary for us. What say you, O Yashar'al? I thank you for your patience, your tolerance, your hunger for set apartness. My prayer is that you are doing well, that you have good health, that you are growing in discernment, that you are seeking how to respond with precision to what is expected. For you see, my brothers and sisters, it's not about an if or a maybe. End time prophecies will be fulfilled because there are things that will and must be done. On that note, O Yashar'al, my family, I say to you, let us learn to embrace the love that Yahusha Mashyach had for us and has for us. Let us understand and embrace the love for set apartness and worshiping the Almighty Father Yahuah. In Yahusha's name, I say to you, Shalum.